What's up, guys? Welcome to the video. Question for you. Have you done any planning yet for 2026? It's only 6 or 7 weeks away, so it is right around the corner. I know a lot of us are probably focused on the holidays, but we're going to miss an opportunity here to really plan out how we want our year in 2026 to look if we don't start thinking about it now. Have you thought about your goals, what you want to accomplish? Have you thought about who you want to become in the new year? Have you thought about some of the changes in your life that you want to make in 2026? If you haven't, I want to talk about a little blueprint for you that you can follow to lay some plans and get some clarity around what you want 2026 to look like. This is the preparation aspect of Be a Pro. If you followed this channel at all, you know that's my platform, Be a Pro, prepared, reliable, and obsessed. We got to start with the preparation, and there's really 4 steps in that. There's kind of 4 subcategories, sub-pillars of preparation that I want to talk about, and we're going to talk about those throughout the course of the day here. But as usual, you guys are probably used to it now. I'm sitting out in the parking lot in the gym, so let's go work out first, and then we'll talk later. All right, I'm home from the gym now and talking about preparation, getting ready for 2026. I think working out for me is a perfect example of preparation. One of my coaches years ago used to say that if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. That's how I approach working out. I have said before in previous videos that I want to be thriving from a physical standpoint, health and wellness standpoint, into my 80s, 90s, and maybe even make it to 100 and still be thriving. And so working out is a form of preparation for me. I'm preparing for those decades to come, preparing my body to be healthy, active, and thriving at that point. And so I think it's just a good metaphor to talk about this idea of preparation. And I touched on earlier in the video about planning for 2026, getting prepared for 2026 because it's coming 6, 7 weeks away. And so I want to talk about the first piece of preparation today that can help us get ready for 2026. And that first piece is clarity. And when I talk about clarity, I really break that down into 3 parts. There's clarity of purpose, clarity of person, and clarity of plan. So let's talk about these. Clarity of purpose. This is really, really simple. We need to get clarity on specifically what we're getting prepared for. In other words, if we're going to set a goal for 2026 or we're going to set a New Year's resolution, we have to be able to articulate specifically what that is. And more specifically, when we talk about goals, I think it's really important to define how much and by when. So if you're going to set like a unit goal or a financial goal, maybe a weight loss goal, you need to determine how much. In other words, what's the actual goal? And then by when do you want to have that completed? I always suggest to my clients or anybody that I talk to that setting goals around units or money or weight or anything else you would set a goal around, to set the big goal. So let's say it's 100 units or X number of dollars. Then back engineer that and break it down into categories by like quarterly goals or monthly goals or weekly goals so that you can track your progress. And so we know at the end of the first quarter, for instance, if we're on pace to hit that goal or hit that target. There's an old saying that says what gets measured can be improved. And so we got to measure and track every step of the way so that if we know a month in or 3 months in that we're not on target, that we got to change up some of the tactics. So we got to specify how much and by when. And then the second part of clarity of purpose is to determine exactly why you want to achieve that goal. If you've watched previous videos, you know that I'm not a huge fan or proponent of that idea of find your why when it comes to a big life purpose, right? I don't think that's important. But when it comes to goals, I think it's really important to have a deep internal motivator. It's not enough just to say, oh, I want to make a couple $100,000 because I just love money. I think there's always something deeper that's driving us in pursuing those particular goals. It's important to find out what that is and then tap into that, because when times get tough, when the market gets tough, or maybe you're off track a little bit, you can tap back into that deeper why, those deeper emotional motivators. They'll get you through those tough times and get you over the hump and get you back on track. So that's clarity of purpose. The second piece is clarity of person. And what I mean by this is you have to determine if you're currently the type of person that's capable, willing, or able to achieve the goal that you've set for yourself. And if we're being honest, a lot of times we're not. We set a big goal, a stretch goal, something that's going to take our very best effort, the very best version of us. And as we sit here today, we're not currently the type of person that's capable, willing, or able to hit that goal. That means we might need to develop some new skills. We might need to become somebody different than we currently are. An example that would be if you set a big financial goal that's going to require you to double your sales. That's going to require a lot more sales calls than you've currently been doing. It might require you to become a morning person, somebody that needs to get up at 5 or 5:30 in order to get your workout in before you go to work, or make sure that the kids get up and get off to school so you can be into work an hour earlier so you can increase the volume of calls that you're making in order to make those sales. So you need to do a real honest evaluation and be truthful. Am I currently the type of person that's capable, willing, or able to do what it's going to take to hit this goal? And if I'm not, just determine what those changes you need to make are, what those improvements you need to make are, and then begin to implement those so you can become the type of person that is capable, willing, or able to hit the goal that you've set. So that's clarity of person. And the third one, the last one, maybe the most important, is clarity of plan. I've said this before, but if we're being honest, many of us are out here just winging it. We'll set a goal, we'll have a dream or something that we want to accomplish, something we want to achieve, and we just go about the business of doing the things that we think will get us to that goal, but we don't ever put a plan in place. And so when you don't have a plan in place, I guess the old saying is, failing to plan, you're planning to fail. And I think that's really true. So it's important to put a plan in place and specify each step that we're going to take along the way to try to hit that goal or achieve that outcome. And this goes for big goals professionally, or some New Year's resolutions, some things that we want to hit personally. You know, a lot of people always talk about weight loss goals or health and fitness goals. Put a plan in place, determine exactly how many days a week you're going to go to the gym. What changes are you going to make in your diet? If that's a work goal, make more money. How much more money? What's that going to take on a daily, weekly basis in order to stay on track? What's the plan? What days am I going to make my sales calls? What days am I going to work on my CRM? What days am I going to try to reach out to potential clients? Schedule that, plan it. It's super important that we put a plan in place to achieve the goals that we've set. And so those are those 3 ideas around clarity. Tomorrow and throughout the rest of the week, I'll drop the other 3 pillars that really constitute this idea of being prepared according to my system, the Be a Pro blueprint. And I'll drop those videos daily throughout the rest of the week, and we'll touch on those things now. But for today, I really want to drive home that idea of clarity. If we're going to be prepared, if we're going to hit the ground running in 2026, we got to get clarity around our goals, what they're going to be, how we're going to achieve it. Clarity of purpose, clarity of person, and clarity of plan. Thanks so much for watching. If you got value from this video, please give me a like and subscribe. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thanks so much.